Welcome, Dr. Anamah Tan. It's my deep honor to have you in our show. And I'd like to have you share a little bit about yourself so that the listeners can get to know you better.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Ramesh. Look, how long have I known you, Ramesh?
Well, it's going to age both of us, but I think we knew each other in the early 90s when I was just getting started in my work with women's organization, and you were this role model that I looked up to. I'm not sure whether you were already the president of SCWO then.
I was, yes,
and that's where we got to know each other, and then we and you were also involved with the Due Credit Cooperative, where I was a board member, and then we did some meditation together as well over some time later on. So we've known each other, and you were at some point my divorce lawyer.
Oh, yeah. Well, oh dear.
So we've known each other in different capacities.
Correct, yeah. And our dear friend, the late Julie Tan. Yes. Those were the days I thought meditation was one of the ways in which we can find ourselves.
That's right.
Wonderful. Yes, wonderful. Now we are on this podcast together. I'm delighted to be on it, and good morning to all our listeners. Yes, carry on.
And would you be so kind as to share a little bit about yourself, your early growing up days, and what you qualified in, about your family background, and then we'll talk a little bit about your early career.
Okay, that's quite a bit. Yes. I'm now all of 81 years old. And well, I was born in 1940. So I went to school to St. Margaret's. Actually, it was a really wonderful school. It's a mission school. And I got my early education there. That is, early education now says it means preschool. But in my days, there was no preschool. We just went to primary one. I still have pictures of those early days. And I really looked like a gundu. You know what's a gundu, isn't it? This other people now understand what's a gundu, but it just means, oh wow, I really look so like worse than what I call being in the village school. But it was really wonderful, and because that's those early years when we were taught to serve and to be of service to others. I think the missionaries really knew what was good, yeah. When I was a baby, I was adopted by this lovely Ceylonese family. My maiden name is Anamah Tan.
Oh, wow.
So, when I talk about my family, it means my foster family, because to me, they are my family. But I got to know my real parents and all that, my siblings, very late on in life when I was quite old. Yeah. I don't know them, and I still get to, I still do see them. Yeah. So it's nice to know. But to me, my family is my foster family. Yeah. And we learned, as I said, how to be of service. And I remember in the early days, St. Margaret's, we used to work together with St. Andrews, and we went to this Potong Pasir village. You had to walk for about 1.5 miles before you actually enter into the main village, and we served the villagers. We cleaned their wounds and all that. Yeah.
Wow.
When I was 13-year-old, yeah. A very, very impressionable age, that age, yeah.
How come you didn't become a doctor? I mean, given that early exposure that you had, nurturing and taking care of people.
I don't know. I've always wanted to be a teacher. Even in my early years, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And I must say that I tried to be a teacher when I was young, and my father just had not would not let me have anything to do with it. I might tell the story about what he did. I had gone through all the different tests and all that to get to the TTC. You know, in those days, the TTC was either a 3-year course or 2-year course, certificate trained. So in my young brain, I think I was all or 16 years old then. And I thought, well, I wanted to be a teacher. So certificate trained means 2 years. But after 2 years, I can earn more. You know, in those days, okay, I'll go for that. And I had a series of tests and all that, and I got my results. I was so proud of it. And at that time, I went to present it to my father. He never said a word to me. Not one word. He just went straight to the telephone, picked it up, and he spoke to the gentleman and on the other side, and he said, Vanya, then his name was Vanya Singham. He was then the TTC principal. And he said, my daughter resigned as of now. And that was the end of my teaching career. I had no say. I couldn't say a word. I cried and I begged and it didn't work at all. And you know what? For that, I am grateful to my father. Because, you know, we all used to think, well, when I was young, I always thought I was right. Yeah? So, but I had no choice. Then it was, you know, obey your father. Yeah. And I think that obedience to my father paid off in my later years. And I'm so grateful to him that he made me obey him. Not many people can make me obey them, you know, but he did.
Right.
Anyway,
And so you became a lawyer.
So I became a lawyer, yeah.
Right. And then what did you do after graduation?
After graduation, you should have seen those early days. The market was against it. It was like, you know, women lawyers, yeah. That time, I think when I graduated, I was in the 3rd batch of the law school from Singapore. Economy was against us at that point. Against, yeah.
You mean that it was like a financial crisis where it was difficult to get jobs? Or
yes, it was difficult to get jobs. And at that point of time, they said the legal profession was saturated.
Oh, wow. With just 3 batches.
After 3 batches. Because at those early times, yeah, most of the lawyers came from England and, you know.
Right.
Those were the days, yeah.
Yes.
So that even in those early days, we were told that that the legal profession was saturated. So there you go. That was one of the early setbacks, yeah, when I graduated. And that was in 1963, yes.
Wow.
1963. Yep.
And what did you do?
No, when I graduated, my father had just passed away. He was already 80. Wow. So he had passed away. And, you know, I was so touched because I never knew he was so proud of me. You know, in those early days, yeah, fathers never said anything if they're proud of you, anything like that. No way. No such thing as, oh, you have done well, or, you know, any words of encouragement. It was, if you had done well, it was just a proof kind of thing, you know, it's to be expected. Yeah. But if you did badly, gosh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, in those early days, as I said, I wanted so much to be a teacher. And then my first year in university, I remember, my father was very strict, of course. We came from a very strict family. So, I was the only one who didn't apply to go for the ball, you know, the orientation ball. Yes. And then my school principal, you know, he was really nice. He was a Welsh professor, Professor Sheridan, called me up to his office. And, you know, when the when the principal calls you to the office, it's like, what have I done wrong kind of thing, right? Wow, I really was so scared. And then all he asked me was, why have I not signed up to attend the orientation ball? I thought to myself, such a stupid question to ask me. Then all I answered was, oh, my father wouldn't allow me. He said, what? You know, what? I'll come and see your father. He said, please don't, sir. Don't come and see my father. He'll make mincemeat out of you. I was so scared of him going to see my father, to ask my father to let me go to the ball, okay? But anyway, he was so adamant, and he did. He went to see my father, made the appointment and all that. And I don't know what they said between themselves. And he just, when he came out of this thing, he said, okay, you're coming to the ball. I said, I am? He said, yes. I made all the arrangements. Can you beat that? These men making all the arrangements for my life. But there you go. He actually made the arrangements. Apparently, my father told him, this is what he told me later on, that he must find a nice young man who will make sure that I will come home by 12 o'clock.
Wow.
Dear me. And he did. He found me this nice guy. I think he was in his second year or third year. Second year, I think, yeah. Kelantan Prince.
Seriously?
Serious. He did. And this guy was a real nice young man, you know. You know, he kept he brought me to the ball. He said, you must be ready, yeah? 11:30 we must leave. I was only 5 minutes away from the university, you know. We must 11:30 because he has a car, you see. Father said, must have a car, must send me home by 12 o'clock, not later. So there you go. So at 11:30, you know, I was having a whale of a time with, you know, all my new friends and all that, dancing away and all that. And then he's 11:30, let's go back. I said, we're only 5 minutes away. Don't be such a dampener. What I called him some names. You see, that's for being so thankful, yeah? So anyway, he managed. He dragged me off the dance floor. And we went home, and actually just before midnight, yeah.
Wow.
Who ever heard of a dance ending before midnight, huh?
Yes.
Anyway, so I went home before midnight. He kept his word. At least he said, I will get into deep trouble, not only with your father, but with Professor Sheridan. And you know, nobody gets into trouble with Professor Sheridan. Yeah, anyway, I went home with him like a good girl.
Good.
So that was my date.
Wow.
Perfect date, yeah.
Yeah, perfect date. Do you still keep in touch with the prince?
Yes, we became good friends after that. Yeah, he's the epitome of gentleman. Anyway, that was the story of my early life. And I went through the 4 years.
Yes.
I thought the first year, wow, attrition rate was like 75%. I thought, never mind, I'll fail my first year and I'll get to be a teacher. You know how you think when you're young?
Yes.
So determined. But then, you know, like all good children in those days, failure is something that is very, you know, looked down upon, yeah? And then somehow or other, at the last minute, so we all did make a good effort. And I managed to get through the first year. and so I stayed on. Yeah.
Right. And in your graduating class, how many of you were there?
Well, we started, when we started, it was about 130 of us, I think. We ended, there were only 30 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite bad, yeah?
Right.
And anyway, it was okay. I mean, second year was a honeymoon year. We didn't have an exam. But third year was another big exam. And then after that was, we did our final year, which was the year that I really enjoyed it after that. Yeah.
And so did you become a lawyer immediately after you
No,
graduated?
my godfather, who is an English lawyer, he said, "What do you want to do, Anamah?" I said, "I want to be a lawyer. What do you think? What do I want to do? You mean you want to go to court and all that?" "Of course. Why?" No, you want to be a lawyer, then you only do conveyancing." I said, "No, I don't want to do just conveyancing. So boring." He said, "No, who says conveyancing is boring?" "Well, I don't think you'll have much of a career. You want to get married, don't you?" I said, "Yes." "Then no. You better go and work in a bank or statutory board." In those days, a bank. And I thought to myself, "Oh, here's another one." And I listened to my godfather, because by then my father had passed away. Yeah.
Yes.
My godfather helped me to make appointment, write in and all that. So I went for my interviews. I went for, they had PUB, PSA, and in those days, yeah.
Yes.
So, and HDB. So HDB was the one that gave me my first job. And so I went to HDB for 7 years. I worked there and then set up the legal department. But then at the end of that, I looked at the glass. There was a glass ceiling, no matter what anybody said in those days. I told myself, this is as far as I can go. Okay. And at that point of time, one of my former lecturers in the university asked me if I wanted to go into private practice. And I thought to myself, I asked my godfather. My godfather then said, "Do you really want to go into private practice? Don't you think you have quite a good life?" Yes, I had quite a good life in the sense that, you work 9 to 5. But after that, I wasn't really working 9 to 5. Even in those days, I was quite, I think, enterprising. Yeah. The HDB was just starting. I think the sale of flats and wasn't going well. And I used to go, on my own time and nobody, because you are in those days, if you are, an officer of the board, you don't get overtime pay, you don't get all sorts of things. And I used to go after office hours when those people are at home and eating and all that, knock on their doors and tell them, it's better to buy this flat because after 15 years, it will become yours. And all you need to pay is another maybe $10 extra per month on your rental, what you're paying for rental, etc., etc., etc. Oh my goodness, we did all that on our own time, Anyway, I then started my sojourn into the practice. I was a junior then because you had to start from the bottom, it seems. So I had to start from the bottom. I worked myself up to become a partner. And then Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, the late, at one of these big dinners, at that time, I think I was then already president of the Singapore Association of Women Lawyers or something. Anyway, because I was president of something or other, I sat at a table and you must understand, I admire, I respect, I would do anything for our Prime Minister then, So she then announced, all you local lawyers, if you're not careful, you don't pull up yourselves, I'm going to bring in all these lawyers, clever lawyers from England, from Australia, from I don't know where else, and then you all will be finished. He said that, and I said, oh, I must take cognizance of that. So I decided, okay, if I cannot beat them, I better join them, huh? So I took 2 years off from my legal practice. I think I was then with Leacock and all. And I made arrangements that I can go there and do my 2 years and come back and in between and do my other cases. And I was doing this like not part-time. It's supposed to be full-time, okay? It was quite a hectic part of my life then. And that was 2 years. I was admitted to the solicitor's course there. So now I'm a solicitor of England and Wales. That must have been in the 1970s, yeah. Late 70s. So that was my this thing that I had done, yeah.
So how did you start your own firm?
What do I want to do? So that's the next thing, yeah. It was a question of whether I want to practice in UK or because I can practice in UK then, yeah. So it's there or practice here. So then after, thinking, all sorts of things, by then I had remarried, yeah. Oh yeah, my first marriage and broke down. Can you imagine hassle? It didn't last very long, so broke down. And so by then, by the 80s, yeah, late 80s, I was by 80 something, 81, 82, 83. No, sorry. I started my own firm in 1986. Yeah, 1986. And that time, my dear husband was very kind. He saw me working quite hard earlier on. Yeah, and things like that. And he said, why don't you start on your own? I mean, you don't know whether to carry on in UK or to come back to Singapore. So I decided, okay, since he has so much of confidence in me, I still remember telling him, give me 3 years. I owed him about 80,000. It's a lot of money, 80,000 in those days. Yeah. And so that 80,000 mostly to pay for 3 months of the rental, you had to pay 2 months deposit and 1 month rent and all that sort of thing. And then do the office and all that. Just went to all those expenses. And I only had one staff and myself. I did everything, even sweeping the floor, putting the water and all that. Yeah, never mind. It was all right. Quite happy doing it. Yeah. So I did everything. And yes, those were hard days, but it was also very satisfying because all the clients I left before going for the 2 years to UK all came back to me. So you see, when you do good work for your clients, they actually will return you the favor in that way.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so pleased with that because within a year, although I asked him for 3 years, I managed to return him his whatever I owed him.
Wow.
Plus, POSB, I think, was paying 2.5% interest, 2.5% interest, I think. Yeah. I told him, I said, you said interest-free loan. So actually, I'm paying you back 2.5% interest. I must say, Paul was very proud of me. He said, you don't have to pay me back, I said, no. Owing is owing. So I will pay you back with interest. So that was I paid back with flourish. Okay. I was actually quite happy doing it because it made me feel that, that I was independent. Being independent is one thing, but being grateful is another. And I was really grateful to him, yeah.
Yes.
You can always turn a setback, I think, or adversity to an advantage in the way that when our Prime Minister threw that challenge to us, I actually could see the writing on the wall. And it was never heard of in those days to open up, the practice, to outsiders. Because every jurisdiction was very, very protective of their own jurisdiction,
Correct.
So I think that was one of the things I suppose, the beginning of globalization. We never knew it in those days that it was called that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of things happened during our lifetime, Yeah.
That's
Mm.
right. I
And
wonder.
now
Yes.
it's disruption. Now it's disruption. Okay.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And this whole thing about lawyers, when you had your first crisis, which was that lawyers were considered saturated,
Yeah.
has been used
Many
times.
times.
Yeah, many times,
Yes,
maybe.
many
Yeah,
times.
over the
Yes.
last 20 years. But right
They
now,
always found another way of looking at it. Actually, the legal discipline is a very good foundation for any kind. I've known of people who have gone into a successful chocolate. You've heard of Awfully Chocolate?
yes, of course.
Yes. You see things like that. Industries, manufacturing, and all that.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And even choreographing, I think. Because I remember one of my classmates is a ballet dancer. It's Simon, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a ballet dancer. And he became a choreographer. Because his parents wanted him to be a lawyer. So, yeah.
Wanted to fulfill their
Ambition.
Yes. Well, I want to make a quick segue into another big piece of your life, which is, volunteer work, especially in women activism. And you started early from your, being a 13-year-old who went around in the village helping people. To later on when you were working at HDB after work, you would go and try and persuade people to take on the new flats. But when you look at this whole aspect of wanting to serve and be of service, how did you decide then that it was in the area of women's activism?
Ramesh, we never planned this thing. At least I never planned it. Okay, I've never planned anything. It's just that I happened to be at the right time and there was a need. Obviously, there was a need at that point of time because, women were just going out to work in those days. Factories were opening in Singapore. Jurong was then opening up and we had a lot of young women from Malaysia coming down to Singapore to work, things like that. And they really didn't know much about the working environment, employment. There was, I think, quite a few of harassment and things like that going on that they didn't know what their rights were, clearly. And so as we had just started the women lawyers at that time in 1974, so we decided we would go out to the in those cases are called the boondocks, okay? So, because, there was no transport and all that. So we had to go and find our own way there and got to know the HR. And so happened that most of the HRs around there were young women. Yeah. So I think the men didn't want to go, I suppose, to work so far away. We got to talk to all these factory workers during their lunchtime, 45 minutes, give them a talk on employment rights, women's rights, women's charter. In those days, it's okay. They can get married, but it's only lately after that when, work permit people couldn't get married and things like that.
That's right.
And the YWCA used to have the hostels for them and all that. Those were the places that we could find what I call a captive audience. And I think my work with the HDB kept me, I suppose, in touch with those lower economic
Income group.
Yeah, income group. Yeah, and I used to do a lot of this rent arrears thing, where we have to evict them, and really very sad when we do that. And HDB, I think, was a very good landlord in those days. We try our best to help them. Yeah. So in those early days, one of the things I do remember was that how we helped to close down the toddy shop at Newton. Most of our workers were daily rated, right?
Yes.
They used to drink away all their salary, okay? And the poor wives were living in these one-room flats, yeah? We used to get so mad and said, why can't we just sequester part of their salary and make sure at least the rent is paid and the family has got something to eat, you know? And there, these people were having a nice time drinking their toddy, and that's all they can think of. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this journey, because a lot of people like my daughter, who is 26, when she looks at volunteering or being part of a women's movement, she doesn't get to see the origin of how this whole work started and how you all went to the factory floor. It was a ground up work that was done to create awareness and to impact the people who were shortchanged by virtue of either insufficient what's it called, insufficient legal rights or insufficient awareness. How did you go on to eventually representing Singapore in the UN?
Whoa, wow, that was quite a leap. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you know that for many, many years, women's rights were not so important. Yeah, I still remember in those days, what is important is to make sure that everybody has 3 meals, that their stomach is filled, that they have a roof over their heads and all that. So we can't wait forever, isn't it, for all this to be fulfilled before you can actually meet. You have to start somewhere. So even in those early days, we had already the Women's Charter, which in those was very good in the sense that it then banned polygamy for the non-Muslims, and it had started a regime of housewives being able to have matrimonial assets. So even in those days, we were very concerned about it, because in the early days, it's always been male child will get all the properties and all that. Yeah. Still, thank God my father was a very enlightened man. Yeah. Yeah. Because even in my days, it was not that bad. Girl children did go to school. But before that, no. So you read the early pioneers, yeah? This missionary, they actually established girls' schools and all that in order to take the chabokans, they call it chabokans, like slave girls, yeah? From the streets to educate them, yeah? And I think that was a good thing. And the fact that the government made it very early on that girl child or boy child should go to school, which is good. We have not only maintained that, I think, but it has become a norm, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why your daughter thinks that doesn't know much about that. But it's history. I mean, this is not by design, as I said, or anything like that. One day I just got a phone call. That time was MCD, yeah? Minister would like to meet you, but that is because we always do quite a lot of work with the MCD in those early days also. We meaning the women lawyers and the SCWO, yeah? So I thought, okay, he wants to see me, must be about something he wants to be done. I think it was a lunch at the Singapore Cricket Club. So I went for the lunch, and then Minister was there with 2 of his officers there. So he just said, are you interested in sitting, in being nominated to stand for elections for the CEDAW? Wow. By then, of course, I knew quite a lot about CEDAW, having been to New York for quite a few Commission on the Status of Women meetings and all that. My eyes just lit up. At least that's what I was told. And then the next thing that surprised him, that's what he said to me, and he said in front of his 2 officers, can I consult my husband first? He said, he looked at these 2 ladies that were there. He said, Do you believe what she said? So I turned around and said, why? What's wrong with that? I said, woman leader saying that, huh? Not bad. He said, you better take a leaf from her book. But I really didn't mean it in that way that he was saying. I meant it as a person who respects my husband and, and wanted his viewpoint, because I knew that if I agreed to it, then some of my time will have to be spent away from the home. And so that's what I said. I mean, I thought it was quite a normal reaction. I was surprised. And so I said, okay, but I said, no, I'm very serious about that. Oh, okay. But you mustn't tell this anyone, no, because this must not go out until a decision has been made. And I'm a very, very obedient person, yeah? Yes. And so I never said it, not to anyone else other than to my dear husband. And my husband, of course, said, I can see that makes you very happy, isn't it? I said, of course. I mean, this is like being asked to do something which I would never in all my dreams think of even asking for it. I said, I would never ask for myself anyway. I said, it's true, I would never ask anything for myself. So, as a result, I then went back and I said, okay. Then he said, you must not tell to anyone. Okay. So I didn't tell anyone about it until the announcement was made. And the amount of flack I got from my friends, wow. They all got so angry with me because they thought, wow, I had this thing, and I just kept it to myself. Not true, It was just being true. I mean, I thought I gave my word, therefore I must keep it. And this is one of the things that I really, really think is very important, that we must have credibility and integrity. If we are true to our words, yeah. If somebody says, don't tell this to anybody, I would never breathe a word of it to anyone, Anyway, apart from that, it's also part of my training. Huh?
That's right.
Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, so that was how it turned out. And after that meeting, I never said anything to anybody until the minister gave made the announcement. Then, of course, everybody then said, oh, you knew about this and you never told us, huh? How can you do that to us? We are your friends, your good friends. And I had to explain why. And I think some of them never forgave me for that. I just hope they will, and they do understand after time, yeah, perhaps. And it's never that I have kept anything away, on my own, yeah?
Yes.
That I would do it, yeah. I wouldn't. Why should I? I mean, this is a happy thing if it happens. Yes. If it happens. Because even at that point of time, the reason why that was said was because, number one, it has never been done, Yes.
No,
it's Singapore never thinks of women's rights is to be of any, shall we say, importance?
That's right.
I said that very softly because to me, it is important, and I think there's nothing wrong with saying it loudly. Yeah.
Yes.
It's very important because then it also gives out the what do you call it? The
message
to our men that, look, it is to your advantage that the women are, in fact, it is to the advantage. The amount of things that can be done, if only we could get the full cooperation, which I think we are getting now. Thank God for that. During my time, I was thinking, my God, I don't know how we're going to reach our men folk. And now I see so many men going supermarketing with their wives.
Yes.
And sometimes on their own and their children, which I think is wonderful. And now I also see men changing nappies. Wow, I was so happy. And thanks to the Center for Fathering, I think they did quite a good job. Yeah.
That's
I hope
right.
they will succeed and succeed well.
That's right. Well, share with us one case that might have touched you deeply.
Whoa. Let me tell you this. I have learned a lot from the resilience of women. Yes. No woman wants to admit that their marriage has failed. No, none. I don't think any woman would just at the drop of a hat say, I want a divorce. They may say so, which is why I don't like that either. Never use the word divorce. Never use it. If you can, avoid it like crazy. Why? Because every marriage, every family is worth trying their best to preserve and to keep together. And the mother, she has a very, very strong influence on her children and on her husband if she knows how to wield her influence. Yeah?
Yes.
If only there's a school to do that, but really there is a difficult to do a school on that because it's a lot of forgiving, trying to work out something that is acceptable. But you see, you must engage your partner in that process. If you don't engage your partner in that process, it will not succeed. And I don't know how many women think that their husbands can read their minds. Come on, a woman's mind is so complex, Yeah, I always tell all my clients, and I'm so happy. I'm also a marriage solemnizer. So I get the people I want to get married. Yeah, when I marry them, down to my office and I give them a small lecture. Anyway, that's
so is there a particular case that you remember that deeply touched you? Many. So it's not just one. Yeah. So the overriding thing is that women, in spite of having to go through a divorce, would demonstrate their core resilience.
Yes, that is important, that core resilience. I tell you why. It's so important because even after the divorce, they need that resilience and that, tenacity to go on. In the early days, I only used to act for women, yeah. But in the last 10 years, I've been acting for men as well because...
how interesting.
Because I can see the shoe is being on the other side, okay? Yeah. And I can tell you that now things are a bit different. My male clients are wonderful because I tell them my first priority is the children. A second priority is their wife. If their wife has been kind and good to them and their children.
Yes.
And they are my third priority only. Yeah. And only if they can overcome the second priority, okay, then how I can tell you that I would say that all the male clients I have had are really wonderful men. And I try my best now to see how I can get them to reconcile first. And I cannot get them to reconcile, then really it's a loss to their wives, really, because they are really good men. I tell you, I shake them upside down before I do that, yeah. Because I want to make sure that whatever it is that I'm doing is the right thing.
You had mentioned how a teenager who had reached out to you in an event identified herself as someone whose parents had gotten divorced, and you'd help that sense of happiness that you had to find out that the girl was well settled.
Oh, yes. This was a very, very strange case because this is the early days. Women's where the children's voices are never heard at all. And for a long, long time, I've always interviewed the children. Interviewed meaning just talking to them and to explain to them that what their parents are going through is something that they should never, never blame themselves for, and that their parents love them no matter what, And that is something that I wanted to imbue in them, that no matter what, both sets of parents love you. And you should not stand in any kind of, feel any kind of pulling and, effects on this. Because sometimes you see that, there's a lot of baggage they carry with them after their parents' divorce. They carry that baggage into their own lives later on without them realizing, Now they have what is known as therapeutic justice. Why? Because even the judges too understand, that they have to have a healing process for this. The healing process is not only for the parties themselves, but for the children. And the children's healing process is very important for their own well-being in their future. I'm so glad that it's all being done during my lifetime. I hope to see the results of it. And this is where, as I said, that this example of this young girl, she must have been in 25, 26 years old. When she came to see me, she told me that when she first came to my office, she was only 8 years old. And for an 8-year-old to remember what I said to her, I thought it made an impression. So, which is why it's so important. It's because of my interest in them as a family, rather than, this is my client, and it's to respect clients' consent and their approval. Ramesh, you are a very good example.
Yeah, of course, I am.
Because you are one that had very determined effort. And, and I must say that your daughter is a wonderful, wonderful young lady.
Yes. Yeah. It was difficult because when you are dealing with a divorce, you lose a lot of confidence and you have low self-esteem and you worry about the future just as I did. And on top of that, having to deal with the uncertainty of, what's the outcome going to be like, especially when it's an acrimonious separation or a divorce. So it was really valuable that I had you providing me the strength to just deal with that and then pick up the pieces. And of course, I was really thankful that my family was supportive and they just rallied around and allowed me to do whatever I wanted to subsequent to that.
Yes, and this, as you say, a supportive family is so helpful, in those early days, But there are others who do not have that support, and that is where we, as a community, have to rally around them, you see,
Yeah, that's true. That's the key point. And I remember, I think part of the reason why I turned to entrepreneurship and, I started to excel at it was because that was that one thing that I could own and create newly for myself. So I sort of channel my pain into that.
And see what a success you have made out of it. Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. You've seen Singapore and life at different stages. What advice would you have for people who want to build a successful career or who want to move up the leadership ladder, especially women?
I thank God that, the opportunities given to me, all I did was I just gave it my best shot. I just did what I thought was right, what I thought was what any industrious person who is honest about the work that's been given, just give your best. That's how I look at it. I do my things. I do it with integrity, with sincerity, and at the end of that, I always ask myself, have I given my best? If I haven't, I put in an extra bit. If I have and my best is not as good as people think, then I'll just have to either improve on it, or just tell myself, I didn't succeed on that. It's best that you recognize it yourself. And I think that so long as you're sincere about it and you're really honest about it, no one can fault you. Okay?
That's wonderful advice, to give our best with integrity and sincerity.
Yes.
I recently interviewed another guest speaker, and we were talking about ageism. He was telling us that typically older men should stop hanging out at all these coffee shops because that's how they age and they get depressed. So you're still working past your 80th year. And what is your typical work day or even a normal day look like from the time you get up?
Talking about ageism, let me put this across to you.
Okay.
I have come across it myself, being directed at me.
Oh,
You know,
wow. You're serious.
Oh, yes. And you know what I tell them? When you reach my age, and if you can do what I can do, then get down on your knees and thank God for giving you that opportunity. But don't come and tell me that I'm too old to do this, because if I think I can do it, just give it to me and I will do it and I will show it to you.
Well done.
No, because it's true. I must tell you about this. I have been doing mediation long before they had the Singapore Mediation Center. Okay.
Yes.
But even then, when they had that, I went for the course to pass the exams. Okay. And having done all that, I became a mediator. And then when I reached 80, I got a letter to say, you've reached the age of 80 and we do not have mediators of that age.
You're not lucky.
I took umbrage at that and I told him exactly what I thought of him. I said, you can keep your mediators, whatever, and I shall bring this up at the next parliamentary sitting. Then I thought, don't do that, and no, don't do that to the poor man. He probably has a directive from I don't know where that says people above 80 should not be. So I told him, why don't you interview me? I don't think I have met you, number one. And if you have met me, I don't think you'd write me off like that. And I told him, don't you dare write off anyone without interviewing them. You are doing a disservice to yourself, I said. Shame on you, I told him.
Well done.
But
I think we need more people like you who can express that, because it'll be so ironical if we have increased everyone's life expectancy and given them opportunity to have such diverse and fulfilling careers, and then to tell them that just because they hit a certain age, they can't continue something that they are well competent to continue doing so.
Yeah, I mean, you have your parameters to work within, fair enough. But everyone should understand parameters are supposed to be pushed to the extent that is workable. You should never try to, fix it. How do you know that they will not benefit from the experience that an 80-year-old has gone through,
That's right. So tell us, what's your typical working day like?
Oh, my typical working day. Well, nowadays, I don't have to wake up at the sound of an alarm. I get up when I want to get up. And sometimes you get up very early, sometimes you get up a bit late when you stay up late, okay?
Yes.
But I take it easy. Why? Because everybody says take it easy. The only thing I'm so afraid of being is lazy. Taking it easy doesn't mean being lazy, Yeah.
That's right.
That's the difference between the two. So I draw myself up when I feel as if I'm becoming lazy. But then I'm told you can be lazy if you want to,
Yes.
It's just that I suppose it's not in our DNA to be lazy, right, Ramesh?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And some of us were brought up that way too.
Right.
Very disciplined lifestyle where, lazy was not part of our vocabulary.
Yep. So there you go. So to me, what is my day like? I still have a full day if I want to. So that's where the difference is now, is whether I want to or not. But I do want to, because why do I want to even now? Because I feel that I have something that I can contribute, something that I can still do, and I'm still good at. So why should I just give up something that I'm pretty good at, isn't it?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so will you meet friends or meet clients, or what time do you finish the day usually?
My day finishes when my work finishes.
Nice.
So that seems to be like this. Your day never finishes.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's good, that you feel alive and you feel, hey, you still have some vroom, vroom, vroom in you, right?
That's right. Vroom.
Yeah.
Can you share with us what is spirituality for you? How do you look at this world?
How do I look at this? So, as you know, in the 1990s, right? That was how long ago, huh?
That's right.
40 years now, is it?
Yeah.
Well, we're already looking. Why? Who? Who am I? Why am I? So how have I reconciled myself? It's a question of, now I feel that, every time when I take up the scriptural text to read, you read it through, and it's a different connotation you have than when I read it when I was 40 years old, or when I read it when I was 30 years old. So there you go. Yes, I feel more at ease with myself. Am I more calm? I think so. I'm a bit more calm now than I used to be. We used to rush around like crazy, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't rush around, no. In fact, every time when a new idea comes to my head, wow, I'm still getting new ideas, not bad. Yeah. There you go, you see. So these are things that keep me going, and I like to talk to my younger colleagues. Why? Because they always have problems, okay? And they come to you, and tell them, and they tell you their problems, and then you tell, oh, the solution actually is quite simple. All you have to think is like this, and like that. Then they said, oh, so simple. Yeah, but sometimes the most complex problems, really, when you analyze it, and this thank God for the grace, that's being given, you're able to dissect it. I think as you grow older, you're able to discern better.
Yes. Yeah. And also the experience of having gone through it and seen so many iterations of it, you sort of know what they're not able to look at that point, because you can zoom out.
True. Yeah. And I like this thing now, zoom. I never heard of that word before, Yeah, other than maybe in a satellite or in a shooting star.
Yeah.
But that's it. But now I think with this new, they always say the new millennials think differently. And frankly, they do,
That's right.
When they're not as, what shall I say, not far thinking, but the what do you call it? The attention span, yeah, is so much more. What do you call it?
But yes.
Yeah. BYTE, which is even smaller. It can go to micron. Not Omicron, but micron size. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't understand it, because they can think of 20 things fast. And I say, hey, slow down, one at a time, you know?
And do you think it's possible to live a simple life?
Yes. Why not? It is. If you are looking for a simple life. Don't you think so? You must look for it yourself. You must want it. Yeah. And to me, I think if I have one good meal a day, that's satisfying. I don't mind. I have one good meal a day, and that's it. Before, I need to have 3 good meals. But my doctor tells me I must have 5 small meals. I tell my doctor I have no time to have 5 meals, okay? 1 meal is enough, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, who inspires you today and why?
I tell you who inspires me. You know, it's a saint that inspires me. She's made a saint only lately, Mother Teresa. I tell you, I've been following her when she was alive, even when she was alive. And I only went to her where she lived after she died. I didn't get to go to it earlier. All I could do was follow what she had done to see. She has some of the simplest ideas, and she says it so beautifully, you know.
Yes.
And you know, she really lived so simply. I don't know whether you have seen her quarters, but her quarters just had this small single like railing bed. Like, I don't think it even looks very comfortable, with a thin mattress. Yeah. Apparently she's been living there like that for years and years and years.
Wow.
And amazing what she has done. She has done for the poor, and not in her home country either. In a completely different country, with completely different customs and usages and whatever, but she embraces that with love.
Yes.
You know? And kind of love is really what I call divine love. Love with no conditions, with no strings attached, with no what do you call it? You must return me. Otherwise,
It's not judgmental. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I call having a really amazing life. And she had the most amazing life. She could move with the princes and move with the most poorest of the poor. Isn't that really what I would call a godsend, a divine gift, an ability to stretch, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. People say it's a hard life for her. I'm sure the life was not easy. Yeah, was not easy. But on the other hand, she lived it. And she lived, what shall I say? She enjoyed it. She found enjoyment in everything, which I think is something we can learn. And if we can enjoy, even if we have been distressed, can we enjoy the distress? I find that difficult, but at the end of each type of distress I get, I try to get over it as soon as possible. And it's amazing, you know, when you feel it being lifted off your shoulders. You can actually feel it going away.
That's right.
A great feeling, don't you think?
Yeah, it is true. I mean, she's been inspiring in the way that she has embraced all of her life, the ups, the downs, no matter what the circumstances were, and being just so fully committed to that singular purpose of being of service and to serve.
Right. And doing it so willingly, and with so much love. Yeah. I always admired that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, as that's being a saint, can we be saints?
Maybe that's our excuse for not being at that level.
No. That excuse is not good enough. You must not give yourself excuses like that, okay? You can aspire. No harm in aspiring.
That's right.
And in that, we can thrive.
That's right. So then what does it mean to thrive in life?
I think to live every moment with being present. That means whether it's the pain you feel or the pleasure or the feeling of contentment. And I think it's so important to feel contentment, Yeah? Yeah. Amazing. Anyway, you're doing an amazing job, dear. And I think that's wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tan. It means so much to me that your acknowledgement especially. And thank you for being on this podcast and sharing with us so candidly, your journey. It's going to be inspiring many people. And
well, Ramesh?
Yes.
We'll see you again.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Dear listeners, if you've been listening and enjoying the Thriving in the Age of Disruption podcast series, as well as our Mastery Effect podcast series, we'll appreciate it very much if you can share with us the topics that are close to your heart, so that we can source the relevant experts and change makers and have them be on our show. Do comment below and let us know where you are commenting from and what is it that is of biggest concern to you.